First contact in crisis. The RSS Explorer drifted silently through the outer reaches of the Carina Nebula, its sensors probing the cosmic dust for signs of the anomaly that had brought them 12 light-years from Earth. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling colors beyond. The ship's quantum computers had detected something impossible, organized patterns in the chaos of space. "Captain, we're picking up unusual energy signatures," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his station. "They're unlike anything in our database." Before Chen could respond, warning klaxons blared throughout the ship. The nebula's peaceful purple hues had transformed into an angry red maelstrom. A solar storm, far more powerful than any they'd encountered, was bearing down on them. "Shields to maximum," Chen ordered, but she knew it wouldn't be enough. The Explorer was a research vessel, not built for this level of stellar violence. As the first waves hit, the ship groaned under the assault. That's when they saw it, a massive structure emerging from the nebula's depths. It was clearly artificial, its crystalline surface reflecting the storm's fury. More surprisingly, it was active, generating some kind of field that seemed to part the solar winds around it. "Captain, we're being hailed," Rodriguez announced, his voice tight with disbelief. "It's in English." The message was simple: "Your shields will fail. Come inside." Chen had seconds to decide. Stay out here and certainly die, or trust these unknown beings who somehow knew their language. "Plot a course," she ordered. "Take us in." The Explorer slipped through an opening in the structure's field, and immediately the ship's violent shaking ceased. They found themselves in a vast docking bay, surrounded by vessels of various designs, all apparently seeking shelter from the storm. Their hosts revealed themselves shortly after: the Arxur, a species that had been quietly observing humanity's development for decades. They were tall, elegant beings with iridescent scales and multiple pairs of arms, their movements precise and deliberate. "We apologize for the abrupt introduction," their leader, Administrator Vex, explained through a translation device. "But we couldn't allow your ship to be destroyed. Your species is too important." Chen raised an eyebrow. "Important? We've barely left our solar system." Vex's scales shifted color, something Chen would later learn indicated amusement. "That's precisely why. In just 3 centuries, you've gone from burning coal to developing quantum drive technology. Your rate of advancement is unprecedented." But there was more to it than simple scientific interest. The Arxur revealed they were facing a crisis that threatened the entire sector. Strange gravitational anomalies were appearing throughout the nebula, destroying ships and threatening to tear apart the very fabric of spacetime. "We've been studying these anomalies for decades," Vex explained, showing them holographic models of the disturbances. "But we've reached the limits of our understanding. We need a fresh perspective." Chen studied the data, her mind already racing with possibilities. Human scientists had recently developed theories about quantum-scale gravitational effects, ideas that seemed radical even by Earth standards. Could they apply here? "We might be able to help," Chen said carefully, "but we'll need access to all your data, and we'll have to work together. This isn't something either of our species can solve alone." Vex's scales rippled with what Chen hoped was approval. "Then let us begin. The storm outside will last for several Earth days. We have until then to find a solution." What followed was an intense collaboration between human and Arxur scientists. The humans' unconventional approaches to physics, combined with the Arxur's vast knowledge base and advanced technology, led to breakthroughs neither side could have achieved alone. They discovered the anomalies were actually quantum knots in spacetime, created by the interaction between the nebula's unique particle composition and gravitational waves from a nearby black hole. The Arxur had been trying to disperse the knots with brute force, but the humans suggested something different, using precisely calibrated gravitational pulses to unravel them, like pulling on the right thread to undo a tangled knot. The solution worked, but it revealed something else. The anomalies weren't natural. Someone or something was creating them deliberately. The crisis that had brought humans and Arxer together was just beginning. As the solar storm finally subsided, Chen stood with Vex in the structure's main observation dome, watching the nebula return to its normal state. "Your species continues to surprise us," Vex said. "We thought we needed your raw scientific knowledge. Instead, it was your way of thinking that proved most valuable." Chen smiled. "That's humanity for you. We're too curious for our own good and too stubborn to accept impossible problems. Both qualities we may need in abundance," Vex replied, their scales darkening with concern. "Because now we must find who is creating these anomalies and why they want to destabilize this sector of space." The explorers' accidental discovery had turned into something far larger. Humanity's first official contact with alien life wouldn't be remembered as a mere diplomatic exchange, but as the beginning of a partnership that would change the course of both civilizations. The Universal Plague. 3 months after the explorers' first contact with the Arxer, the situation in the Carina Nebula had grown more complex. The gravitational anomalies had ceased, but something worse had taken their place. A mysterious illness was spreading through both human and Arxer populations on nearby stations and colonies. Dr. Maya Patel, the explorer's chief medical officer, stared at the test results on her holographic display. The infection defied conventional understanding. It somehow affected both human and Arxer physiology, despite their radically different biological makeup. "It's impossible," she muttered, running another analysis. "These species evolved 12 light years apart. We don't even share basic cellular structures." "And yet it's happening," Administrator Vex said from the doorway of the medical lab. Their scales had taken on a sickly gray hue, a sign of the infection's early stages. 23 cases on this station alone. Hundreds more reported across the sector. The disease progressed differently in each species. In humans, it attacked the nervous system, causing tremors and gradually degrading cognitive function. In the Arxer, it disrupted their ability to regulate body temperature and interfered with their color-changing abilities. Both outcomes were eventually fatal if left untreated. Captain Chen had converted part of the Explorer into an emergency medical research facility. The ship's advanced labs, combined with Arxer medical technology, gave them their best chance at understanding and fighting the plague. "There's something artificial about this," Dr. Paddle explained during an emergency briefing. "The way it adapts to different physiologies, how it spreads. This isn't natural evolution. Someone engineered this." The implications were chilling. The same entities creating the gravitational anomalies might be behind this biological attack. But why target both species? What was the end game? A breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Rodriguez, while analyzing communication patterns across the sector, noticed something strange. The disease appeared first in areas where ships had reported equipment malfunctions, the same kind of malfunctions that had preceded the gravitational anomalies. "It's using our own technology to spread," Rodriguez explained, pointing to his data. "The pathogen isn't just biological. It has a quantum component that allows it to transmit through our communication networks." This revelation sparked an idea in Dr. Patel's mind. If the disease could use quantum networks to spread, could they use the same networks to distribute a cure? But first, they needed to understand how the pathogen worked at the quantum level. The solution required combining human medical knowledge with Arxer quantum physics. Dr. Patel worked with Arxer scientists to develop a new kind of medical scanner that could observe the disease's quantum behavior. What they found was astonishing. The pathogen existed in a quantum superposition, allowing it to simultaneously adapt to different biological systems. This was why it could affect both species. It wasn't really one disease, but many possibilities of a disease existing simultaneously until it encountered a host. "It's like Schrödinger's cat," Dr. Paddle explained to Chen. "But instead of being either alive or dead, it's either a human pathogen or an Arxer pathogen until it infects someone." This understanding led to a potential treatment. If they could force the pathogen to collapse into a single state before it infected anyone, It would lose its ability to adapt to different species. The trick was finding a way to do this on a large scale. The human solution was characteristically bold. Use the quantum communication networks themselves to broadcast a specially tuned quantum field that would force the pathogen to collapse into a harmless state. The Arxer were skeptical. Such widespread manipulation of quantum states could have unforeseen consequences. Sometimes the most dangerous solution is the only solution. Chen argued during a heated debate with the Arxer leadership. Every hour we wait, more people die. The Arxer finally agreed, but with a condition. The treatment would be tested on a single station first. The Explorer volunteered for the trial. If anything went wrong, the damage would be contained. Dr. Patel spent 3 sleepless days calibrating the quantum field generator. When everything was ready, the entire station held its breath. The generator activated, broadcasting its invisible field through the station's communication systems. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the medical sensors began showing changes. The quantum signatures of the pathogen were disappearing, collapsing into inert matter that the body could easily eliminate. The treatment worked, but it had an unexpected side effect. As the quantum field spread through the network, it revealed traces of artificial quantum signatures throughout the sector. Breadcrumbs leading back to whoever had created the disease. Well, Chen said, studying the new data with Vex, looks like we found our next mission. The Arxer administrator's scales flickered with a mix of colors Chen had never seen before. Indeed, but this time, we'll be ready for them. The plague had been contained, but its creators were still out there. Humanity's first steps into the galactic community had revealed not just new friends, but also hidden enemies. The real question was, who would they find at the end of this quantum trail? The Battle of Broken Stars. The quantum trail left by the plague's creators led the Explorer and its Arxer allies to the edge of a region known as the Shattered Zone. A vast graveyard of broken stars and collapsed solar systems. Ancient stellar engineering had gone catastrophically wrong here millennia ago, leaving behind a maze of gravitational eddies and radiation storms. The joint fleet consisted of 3 ships. The Explorer, now equipped with Arxer defensive technology, the Arxer science vessel Eternal Seeker, and the heavy cruiser Star Weaver, whose quantum shielding made it ideal for navigating the zone's treacherous conditions. Multiple contacts ahead, Rodriguez reported from his station. Artificial structures, hundreds of them. Some kind of automated defense network. The structures were unlike anything either species had encountered. Geometric shapes that seemed to fold in on themselves, defying normal space. They were clearly ancient, yet hummed with active power. Those energy signatures, Vex observed from their temporary station on the Explorer's bridge. They match both the gravitational anomalies and the quantum component of the plague. Before anyone could respond, the defense network activated. Beams of coherent gravity lashed out, warping space itself around the fleet. The Star Weaver's shields flared as they struggled to compensate. Evasive maneuvers, Chen ordered, but in the chaos of twisted space-time, conventional navigation was nearly impossible. The ships were being herded deeper into the Shattered Zone, towards something massive lurking in its heart. It was Lieutenant Jessica Way, a junior engineer, who first understood what they were facing. "Captain, these aren't just defenses, they're a test." She explained her theory. The gravitational attacks weren't random. They followed patterns, like a complex mathematical proof. Each beam created a gravitational problem that had to be solved to avoid destruction. The plague was the same way, Dr. Patel added, catching on. It wasn't just a weapon. It was testing our ability to understand and manipulate quantum states. Chen shared a look with Vex. Both understood the implications. Someone, or something, was evaluating their species' technological capabilities. The Arxer ships tried to brute force their way through using raw power, but their shields were failing. The Explorer, however, had an advantage. human intuition combined with Arxer technology. Way proposed a radical solution. Instead of fighting the gravitational beams, they could use them, solving each spatial equation to create a safe passage. It would require perfect coordination between all three ships and split-second timing. Like a mathematical dance, Way explained, her eyes bright with excitement despite the danger. Each ship solves part of the equation, creating a solution that protects all of us. The plan was audacious. The explorer would calculate the gravitational patterns, the eternal seeker would generate counterwaves to stabilize local space, and the Star Weaver would use its quantum shields to hold everything together. If we're off by even a microsecond, Vex warned, the gravitational shear will tear our ships apart. Chen's response was pure human determination. Then we won't be off. What followed was one of the most complex space maneuvers ever attempted. The three ships moved in perfect synchronization, their combined actions turning the defense network's attacks into a navigational aid. Each solved gravitational problem revealed more of the path forward. They found their target at the center of the shattered zone, a massive installation that seemed to phase in and out of normal spacetime. Its surface was covered in the same geometric patterns as the defensive structures, but far more complex. It's some kind of test facility, Rodriguez reported, analyzing the readings. The gravitational anomalies, the plague, they were all generated from here. Before they could investigate further, the installation sent out a transmission. It wasn't aimed at their ships, but at something else in the shattered zone. Suddenly, space itself seemed to crack open around them. Through the rifts came ships, dozens of them, their designs as impossible as the installation itself. They took up formation around the fleet, not attacking, but waiting. A new transmission reached them, this time directed at their ships. It wasn't in any known language, but somehow both humans and Arxer could understand it. The trials are complete. Both species have demonstrated sufficient advancement. Preparatory phase ending. Primary contact protocol initiating. Chen and Vex exchanged glances. The mysterious force they'd been chasing wasn't trying to destroy their civilizations. It was preparing them for something bigger. What exactly did we just pass a test for? Chen asked, her voice steady despite the impossible ships surrounding them. The answer came back immediately. The defense of this galaxy. The greatest threat approaches. You have proven yourselves worthy to stand against it. Around them, the shattered zone hummed with ancient power, and the geometric ships waited for their response. Humanity's first steps into the galaxy had led them not just to new allies, but to an ancient legacy and a coming war that would test both species to their limits. Diplomatic dance. The news of first contact with the ancient builders, as the geometric ship's creators came to be known, sent shockwaves through both human and Arxer societies. 3 weeks after the encounter in the shattered zone, Captain Chen found herself in an entirely different kind of battlefield. The Arxer High Council chamber on their homeworld, Arxera Prime. The chamber was a marvel of bioengineering, its walls alive with shifting patterns that reflected the emotional state of the gathered assembly. Currently, they pulsed with anxious yellows and skeptical greens. "You expect us to believe," Council Elder Mix said, her scales rippling with disapproval, "that an ancient alien civilization has chosen our species, along with these humans, to defend the galaxy from some unnamed threat." Chen stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by tiered rows of Arxer officials. Behind her, a human diplomatic team waited tensely. The fate of both species' cooperation hung on what happened here. "The evidence is clear," Chen responded, her voice carrying through the chamber. "The quantum signatures, the gravitational technology, the installation itself, all of it far beyond either of our civilization's capabilities." Administrator Vex, now their strongest ally in the council, stepped forward. "I have witnessed these events personally. The builders' tests were designed to evaluate not just our technical capabilities, but our ability to work together." The chamber erupted in debate, scales flickering in a rainbow of colors as council members argued. The conservative faction, led by Elder Mix, feared that too much cooperation with humans would dilute Arxer culture and independence. The progressives saw the Builders' choice as validation of their species' path. Meanwhile, similar debates raged on Earth. The UN Security Council was divided over sharing advanced technology with the Arxer, despite the apparent common threat. Some nations feared giving away too much, while others worried about falling behind in the new Interstellar alliance. Dr. Patel and Lieutenant Wei have been working with Arxer scientists to understand the builder technology they'd encountered. Their findings were both promising and troubling. The builder's quantum technology operates on principles we're only beginning to grasp, Wei explained to the Council, projecting a holographic model of the defense network. But we've discovered something crucial. It's designed to be used by both our species together. Neither of us can operate it alone. This revelation caused another stir in the chamber. The builders hadn't just chosen their species. They'd engineered their technology to require cooperation. A junior council member named Rix, their scales showing curious blue patterns, spoke up. What if this is the real test? Not our technical capabilities, but our ability to overcome our differences and work together. The chamber grew quiet as this idea sank in. Chen seized the moment. We don't have to become the same, she said. The builders chose us because we're different. Human intuition, Arxer precision. Human creativity, Arxer wisdom. Apart, we're strong. Together, we're stronger. The political dance continued for days. Every agreement on technology sharing led to debates about cultural preservation. Every joint military proposal raised questions about command structure and sovereignty. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Rodriguez, monitoring deep space communications, detected something unusual, quantum signatures matching the builder technology, but coming from beyond the galaxy's edge. Whatever's coming, he reported to the Joint Council session, it's already on its way. This news changed everything. The threat was no longer theoretical. Both species now faced a choice: stand together or face the unknown alone. The final agreement was a masterpiece of compromise. A joint fleet would be established, combining human and Arxer ships. Research teams would be integrated, but each species would maintain independent development programs. Cultural exchange would be encouraged but not forced. Most importantly, they would face the coming threat as equals. The Arxer High Council and Earth's governments would share authority over the joint forces, with decisions requiring consensus rather than majority rule. As Chen watched the final treaties being signed, she felt a mix of pride and apprehension. They'd managed to turn a crisis into an opportunity, but the real challenges lay ahead. An impressive feat of diplomacy, Vex said, joining her at the chamber's observation window. Beyond, the capital city stretched toward the horizon, its crystalline towers reflecting the light of Arxera's twin suns. Diplomacy was never my strong suit, Chen admitted. I prefer problems I can solve with science or strategy. Yet you understood the most important principle, Vex replied, their scales showing a pattern Chen had learned meant deep respect. The greatest discoveries come not from having all the answers, but from being willing to ask questions together. A signal from the explorer interrupted their conversation. New builder signatures had been detected, stronger than before. Whatever was coming, it was getting closer. The time for diplomacy was ending. Now they had to prove that their alliance could work not just on paper, but in the face of an unknown threat that had concerned even the mighty builders. The price of unity. The joint fleet hung in formation at the edge of the shattered zone, 50 ships strong. A mix of human and Arxer vessels modified with builder technology. The explorer, now bearing the scars of multiple battles, led the front line alongside the Arxer flagship Eternal Seeker. Captain Chen stood on her bridge, watching the quantum sensors track the approaching anomaly. The enemy the builders had warned them about was finally revealing itself, a vast tear in spacetime, consuming everything in its path. Analysis complete, Dr. Paddle reported, her voice tense. It's not just destroying matter. It's unwriting the laws of physics themselves. Wherever that thing touches, reality simply stops existing. The tear was moving faster than any natural phenomenon should, cutting a swath of nothingness through the galaxy. Behind it, stars simply ceased to be, leaving not even darkness in their wake. The builders weren't preparing us to fight an enemy, Lieutenant Wee realized, her hands flying over her console. They were preparing us to fight entropy itself, the heat death of the universe, accelerated and weaponized. Vex, now fleet commander of the Arxer forces, joined the discussion via quantum link. The geometric ships, they weren't just testing us. They were showing us the solution. Understanding dawned across both fleets. The builders' impossible geometries weren't just advanced technology. They were a way of reinforcing the fabric of reality itself. But there was a catch. The builder technology they'd inherited required both species working in perfect harmony to operate. Each ship in the fleet had a hybrid crew, human intuition working alongside Arxer precision to maintain the delicate quantum fields. "We have 18 minutes before the tear reaches the Carina Nebula," Rodriguez announced. "After that, both our home systems will be in its path." Chen shared a look with Vex through the quantum link. Everything they'd worked for, everything they'd built together, came down to this moment. "All ships, battle formation Delta," Chen ordered. "Begin quantum field synchronization." The fleet moved with practiced precision, arranging itself in a pattern that mirrored the geometric shapes they'd seen in the Shattered Zone. Each vessel generated its own quantum field, which had to link perfectly with the others. Like a mathematical proof, Wei explained, monitoring the field strengths. "Each ship is a statement, and together we're writing an equation that defines reality itself." The tear approached, its edges writhing with impossible colors. The laws of physics screamed in protest around it, but the fleet held steady. "Quantum synchronization at 80%, Rodriguez reported. "We need perfect alignment before we can generate a containment field." That's when the unexpected happened. The tear seemed to sense their presence. It spawned smaller rifts, each targeting individual ships in the fleet. The carefully maintained formation began to waver. "We're losing synchronization," Wei shouted. "The quantum fields are destabilizing." This was the moment everything could fall apart. Fear, doubt, the natural instinct to break formation and save oneself. These human emotions warred with Arxer discipline and precision. Then, Chen remembered something from their first contact with the Arxer months ago in the nebula. "We don't need perfect alignment," she said, her voice carrying across all channels. "We need harmony." She explained quickly they'd been trying to make every ship perform identically, but that wasn't what the builders had designed their technology for. They needed the differences between their species. "Let the human crews react instinctively," she ordered. "Let the Arxer crews maintain precise control. Don't fight your nature. Use it." Vex understood immediately. All Arxer crews maintain base quantum fields. Human crews adapt and respond to field fluctuations. Trust your counterparts. The effect was immediate. Instead of trying to maintain rigid geometric patterns, the fleet began to flow like a living thing. Human intuition predicted where the rifts would appear, while Arxer precision maintained the quantum fields needed to counter them. "Quantum synchronization climbing," Rodriguez reported. 90%, 95. The tear loomed before them, a wound in the universe itself. But now they were ready. All ships, Chen and Vex ordered simultaneously, activate containment fields. The combined quantum fields of 50 ships, powered by two species working as one, slammed into the tear. Reality itself seemed to bend as human creativity, and Arxer precision wrote a new equation into the fabric of space-time. For a moment that felt like eternity, nothing happened. Then the tear began to fold in on itself, consumed by the very laws of physics it had tried to destroy. "It's working," Wei exclaimed. "The tear is collapsing." The victory came at a cost. 12 ships were lost in the battle, their crews sacrificing themselves to maintain the quantum fields until the end. But they had done it. They had proved the builders right. Together, they could defend reality itself. As the fleet regrouped, Chen received transmissions from both Earth and Arctura Prime. Both governments had witnessed the battle through quantum relays. There would be no more debates about cooperation, no more fear of losing cultural identity. So, Vex said through the quantum link, their scales showing a pattern Chen had never seen before, one that seemed to combine all colors at once. What shall we tell them about what happened here? Chen smiled, looking out at the spot where the tear had been, where now stars shone again in familiar patterns. The truth, that when the universe itself was coming apart, humanity and the Arctur came together. And that's just the beginning. Because the tear hadn't been natural, and they all knew it. Something or someone had created it, had weaponized entropy itself. The builders had chosen them to face this threat, and this had only been the first battle. But they would face whatever came next together. Two species united not despite their differences, but because of them. Human ingenuity and Arctur wisdom. Human creativity and Arctur precision. Apart, they were strong. Together, they were unstoppable. The explorer turned toward home, leading a fleet that was no longer human or Arctur, but something new. They had paid the price of unity in blood and sacrifice, but they had gained something precious in return. A future worth fighting for.